Hey guys, it's Scott from Scott to Grow Podcast. Welcome to another edition of ReWatching Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D., our weekly video series where I rewatch 2 episodes of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. and make a video about each one, giving you guys my thoughts and reactions and some different little things I picked up throughout the episode. I just want to throw a special thanks and shout out to everybody who checked out the first 2 episodes in the series and who left comments on the last video and the first video. I'm going to throw you guys' names up here as a special shout out. Thank you guys very much for pointing out the couple things that I had missed in that last episode, and definitely be sure to comment again today if you guys notice anything else I missed, because again, I won't pick everything, but I definitely paid a lot more attention to this episode because you guys pointed out some great little things that I definitely had missed, little foreshadowing Easter eggs like S.h.i.e.L.D. and Coulson having a conversation and different things like that. Thank you guys for pointing that stuff out. But anyways, today I'm going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 3, the episode title being The Asset. This episode originally came out on October 8th, 2013, so just under 5 years ago we got this episode. So for those of you guys who haven't rewatched this in a while or haven't seen this episode in a while, I'm just going to give you guys the IMDb plot summary or the synopsis. It's a little long, but I just want you guys to know exactly what happens in this episode so you guys know what I just watched, alright? So we start off this episode, we see S.h.i.e.L.D. searches for one of its assets, Dr. Franklin Hall, who was kidnapped by his former research partner, Ian Quinn, when his soldiers used a gravity device on the S.h.i.e.L.D. convoy that was transporting Dr. Hall. So he wants to use Dr. Hall to take control over the planet's gravity by building a giant gravitonium generator, which, just before I even read any more of that, I didn't realize how early in the show gravitonium showed up. I forgot. Like, I knew it was pretty early, but I didn't realize it was the 3rd episode they've already introducing gravitonium, and they bring that back all the way in the 5th season. I'll talk about that more after I finish the IMDb plot summary, so I'm going to hop back in there. So heading to the Malta, I think that's a country, the Republic of Malta. I don't know if I'm saying that right. With the team, S.h.i.e.L.D. volunteers to infiltrate Quinn's mansion so that Coulson and Ward can rescue Dr. Hall. So S.h.i.e.L.D. is able to trick Quinn into believing that she's betraying S.h.i.e.L.D. for the rising tide to get his guard down. However, Coulson soon discovers that Dr. Hall actually had perpetrated his own escape, and he was doing so that he could destroy the massive device, the gravitonium device. So Dr. Hall believes that he is in the right, but Coulson warns him that him doing so would end up killing lots of people. Their violent disagreement leads to Coulson being forced to not save Dr. Hall as he falls into the middle of the generator, seemingly evaporating him. Well, that line from IMDb is not really right. Coulson shot the class. Coulson sent him into the gravitonium. It was definitely not. He didn't try to save him. He shot the glass below them. IMDb's got this wrong. I'm gonna leave a comment. Anyways, the last little part of the IMDb summary for this episode is that Coulson orders the gravitonium to be placed under high security and off the books. In the final scene, S.h.i.e.L.D. does not notice that Dr. Hall may still be alive in the gravitonium. Dun, dun, dun. So that's the IMDb plot summary for you guys. As you can see, the reason I wanted to read the longer version of it for you guys is because quite a little bit happened, and it's not like a crazy amount, but a lot of little things that kind of gives you a little foreshadowing to the future, and especially the gravitonium. The fact that this whole last season of Agents of S.h.i.E.L.D., Season 5, ended off with gravitonium and Gravitron, that was his name, I think. I can't remember now. I should have written that down beforehand. The point being, though, that they bring this callback from the 3rd episode, and they bring it all the way 5 seasons later at the end, which was almost the end of the series. Let's not forget, guys, this show only got renewed like the week before this episode released, before the final episode of this last season released. Not this episode in particular I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the season finale of Season 5, where we got a lot of gravitonium stuff happening, and what was his name now? I'm forgetting. You guys know who I'm talking about. Please let me know in the comments below, because I've definitely screwing that guy's name up. But you guys know what I'm talking about, which is that they bring Gravitonium back all the way from this first episode. And I just love that there's such this, that they had the foresight to even go back and look for this information, or to just plan so far ahead. I just really like that they had that little element. A few other little things of foreshadowing or Easter eggs you get in this episode. We see Ward is starting to train S.h.i.e.L.D, and so she to be a S.h.i.e.L.D. agent. So we're getting a little foreshadowing the fact that she does eventually become a S.h.i.e.L.D. agent, pretty badass. But in this episode in particular, you see she's still kind of resisting it. She's kind of like taking it as a joke. But throughout this episode, we see with her infiltrating the mansion for S.h.i.e.L.D, she kind of has to like step up a little bit and start taking it a little bit more seriously, and she kind of at the end of the episode decides that she 100% does want to be a S.h.i.e.L.D. agent. She doesn't want to like get pushed around anymore, and so that's kind of really cool that this episode introduces that little element that we kind of get built up throughout the whole series pretty much, which is almost like the journey of her, these 5 seasons, is like just following her. It is the whole team, but her specifically, she's one of the ones that sticks around more than anybody. Her, Fitzsimmons and that, and Coulson of course, but then we get a lot of people coming in later seasons. So I like that we get this really early foreshadowing in the base starting of her basic training. What else do we have? I said Gravitonium and whatever. S.h.i.e.L.D. goes undercover, I put that out, and she has her turning point. So those are all the points I really had that I picked up of foreshadowing. Guys, there was really a lot around the Gravitonium in this episode in particular, but like I said before, guys, let me know in the comments below if you guys noticed anything in this episode that I missed that kind of foreshadows to the future a little bit. Definitely let me know that in the comments below. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I don't know if you guys could tell. I really liked revisiting this because I vaguely remember this episode. Like I remember how this had been reintroduced. I did not remember though that this was so early in the first season that they had introduced this, and I just really loved that it was so early on. And like, especially since like the way like rewatching this, I know what Gravitonium is already, right? So, and I already know what it already does. But like rewatching this episode, because it's been so long since I've seen it, it allowed me to like be kind of like, huh, how did they do that thing at the beginning? And then they show a little bit of Gravitonium. They haven't said the name yet, but you're like, oh, is that Gravitonium? And I was like, is that Gravitonium? And it just, I just really enjoyed that little part of rewatching. It was just such a cool little element that like ties in throughout the show, and going back and still being able to be kind of surprised by it because I hadn't seen the show, at least this episode, at least in a year, 2 years at least. It hasn't been 5 years because I definitely have rewatched the show a couple times, but it's definitely been at least a year or 2 since I rewatched this first season in particular. So it was really cool to kind of get that like, to kind of experience that like kind of almost freshness to being introduced to that. It almost, I feel like it felt like somebody who like reads comic books and gets a reference, because I don't really read comic books, so I don't always catch all those references, but I really like that I kind of get this show reference that's kind of from the future, even though from rewatching the show. But yeah, that's all my thoughts, guys, and stuff about this episode in particular. I'll be watching episode 4 in a couple days and dropping that video. Be sure, guys, to let me know in the comments below again if I missed anything, what you guys thought of this episode, and definitely just any of your thoughts in general. But thanks for joining me today, guys, and I hope you have a good one.